Greetings, friend, and welcome. Today we're going to take a look at John chapter 3, verses 11 through 13 in the Greek and Latin, and see how well our Latin continues to do. So far, it has done a fantastic job. There's still only those 2 or 3 issues that I mention at the beginning of every video. Prince instead of princes, perfect tense instead of present tense, and maybe a present tense instead of a perfect tense. That last one I'm not so sure about. Something that I'll have to double check before we get to the final one, reviewing through verse 21. Now let's take a look at what we have here. Truly, truly, I say to you in the present tense, direct object, indirect object, truly, truly, present tense to you, good, that what we know present tense but perfect in form, present tense and present in form, what we know present tense, present deponent, okay, good, and what we have seen perfect tense, we witnessed present tense, and what we have seen perfect tense, we testify present tense, so perfect, perfect, that's fantastic. And our witness you do not receive present tense, and our testimony or witness you do not receive present tense, so good. Verse 11 is perfect. If the earthly I said aorist tense to you, if perfect tense earthly to you, so that's good. Epigeia and terena, those are good match. And you do not believe present tense, and do not believe you do not believe present tense. How if I said to you the heavenly things future tense, will you believe? How if future perfect to you heavenly future tense, so those two match up. Future perfect versus an aorist tense right there. So that is an issue. I said to you and you do not believe versus I will have said to you and you will believe. I will not believe and will not believe. Gosh, I left that out. So while I understand the reason why the Latin has included the future perfect right there for the aorist, it shouldn't have. It should be matching the tense as much as possible. A perfect tense right there would have functioned just fine with the future. It would have been a little bit of an awkward, technically, way of doing things as a conditional in the Latin, but this is just an indicative conditional clause in the Latin, and it's I'm running out of words here. My throat's beginning to hurt, too much talking today. So I am going to count this as an issue. Future perfect when it should have just been plain old perfect. Oh well. So this isn't even a subjunctive. Had it been a perfect subjunctive, that would have been fine. It would have made sense. But no. So that is an issue. Now we're up to 3. And so that I don't forget these, I'm going to mark that. Okay, moving on. Where are we? And no one has ascended perfect tense into heaven. We're still in the camera. Yes, we're still in the camera. And no one perfect or present tense, because we have the perfect tense here. Take the perfect tense here into heaven, unless someone or anyone descends from heaven. So this is, again, perfect or present, unless from heaven, who, participle here, aorist tense, so descended. They've got a relative clause here, so that's fine instead of the participle. However, someone versus indefinite right there, this is clearly indefinite, someone or anyone. That's another issue that I'm going to have to take with the Latin. Now, I'm trying to think of how exactly you would get around that in the Latin. Sorry. So, there's probably a verb, probably even a deponent verb. I can't think of one if there is, that could have been used as a perfect passive participle, or technically perfect deponent participle, in lieu of this relative clause. The other way of doing it, I think this would work, is if you just do C. No, that wouldn't work either. So what could we do here? So if we use C, that still would require, well, not really require, but that would still make the reader think that this is an aliquis. So there would have to be some way of saying unless or except. And I think there is a word for except, which could have been used instead, but it's pretty rare. If I have time, which I think I should, and I can find that word, I'll put it in a note about now. And then what I would do is I'd use that word and then qui, and then we would have the confusion with aliquis. Now, if I'm not able to find that word and I'm not able to confirm that my supposition about that is correct, then the way that this still could technically be read, I think, is this is just a qui rather than an aliquis, though the reader would not expect that. The reader would only go to that if they already knew the Greek. So even though that is a possible reading, or a possible way of understanding it, it's not clear enough for someone who isn't familiar with the Greek. So I'm going to have to also mark this as an issue, because it changes technically what's said. All right, so 2 issues in here. That's unfortunate. Okay, Son of Man who is in heaven. Just got here the Son of Man. So there is no in heaven. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to skip ahead. I'm going to check the Greek to see if there's an alternate reading where is in heaven appears. So we're back now with my red pen and everything. This is my Nestle Island, verse 13. Kai udes anabeken eis ton uranon e me ho ektu uranu katabas ho huios to anthropu. And we've got the capitalized T there as a marker that some manuscripts do include something after uranu. And as we take a look at the notes down here, we find, where did it go? 13. There's the T symbol right there. If you can make it out, I zoomed it in to allow the whole view. So that T, but after that, ho hon en tu toi uranoi. And then we've got the supporting. One of them does not have the ho on, the being, so this would be the being in the heaven. So this, a couple of the versions do include that. Kappa Nu Gamma Delta Theta Psi, 050 Folio 1.13, 565, 579, 700, 892, 1424, and then Lectionary 844, Lectionary 2211. I don't know what that one means, and all of those. But then we've got Aleph right there, and I don't remember the actual name of that document, but Aleph is a pretty old one, as is B, and those have, if I'm reading this right, I'm not very good at reading this, the apparatus, but if I'm reading those right, those are the older ones from the 3rd or 4th century, and then that puts them before most everything else that supports ho on en toi uranoi. So the more probable reading is without that clause, but it is still possible that the Latin is correct. Now, that being said, that the Latin could be correct, it's not very likely. The later the sources are, the less likely that the reading that we find in them is going to be accurate. You want to go with the earliest writings possible, so from the 4th century. But even then, sometimes it depends on, is it a hard reading or is it an easy reading? Hard readings are more likely going to be true, and we don't really have a hard reading in there with this clause. And frankly, it doesn't really make much sense, since the Son of Man is clearly not in heaven. So the Vulgate here has qui est in Kylo, and there is a variant, it's multiple variants actually, that do have an equivalent in the Greek, and even in the way that it is set up in the Greek, ho on qui est as a relative clause is a great way of doing that. So if we were to take that clause as extant in our Greek, the Latin would have done fine. So there we have that. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope taking a look at this text and the apparatus has been helpful for you, and I hope you have a very good day. Farewell. Hey, not asleep yet? That's okay. I've got tons of other
equally sleep-inducing videos for you to watch. Check them out.